Good evening. How are you all today? Welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I have an important question to ask you. I'm going to give you a scenario and I want you to put yourself in it. And it's a scenario or a question that I don't think most people who are involved in preparedness have really asked themselves. Some have, but not very many. And we'll see if you have or not and what the answer is. The question is important and the answer is important. So grab something to sip on. Now, it's not morning, so I'm not drinking coffee. I am drinking a fine bourbon. I like my bourbon with water and just a little ice. I like it cool. My refrigerator freezer makes round ice cubes, which I just love, so I put it in there. And tonight is I'll show you what it is. And it's bourbon. Those of you who have read my books know that I love wild turkey. Well, love, that's a strong word. Nobody can love a liquor, right? Or a whiskey. I don't know, maybe. But I've always just kind of been a wild turkey guy. 86, as I said. Some of you know this, right? You've read the Stone Mount series. 86 for normal occasions and 101 to celebrate. But tonight I'm drinking something different, and it's good. I finally got around to it. It was gifted to me a couple of months ago, and I've been wanting to get to it. I don't drink that much, and I just been waiting for the right opportunity. I think this is it. Let me take a sip, and I'll tell you what it is. Mm-hmm. Is it as good as wild turkey? Yes. It may be. It may be a little bit better. I don't know. I have to do a taste test with myself here one of these nights. It is small batch bourbon whiskey from First Responders Cast Company. There it is. Right now, I should probably say, I don't always drink bourbon, but when I do, I drink First Responders Cast Company small batch bourbon given to me by Mark Harrison. Thank you, buddy. This is good. I hope you've had some of it. I am really surprised. For those of you who don't know, this company is, pardon me, it's owned by Brent Tucker. He used to be with the Anti-Hero podcast, and now he's got Tier 1 podcast. If you don't watch him, you probably should. He probably has some things on there that would interest you. Isn't that a cool bottle? Isn't that neat? But what's more important is what's inside. You can't judge a bourbon by its bottle, right? Isn't that a famous saying somewhere? Well, let me take another sip of this, and I'm going to get down to brass tacks and ask you the important question. That is, it is, I feel like I'm about to get a commercial. It is full-bodied. It has got a taste, a smooth. This is smooth. Not all bourbon is smooth. And this is smooth. Anyway, okay, let's get on the track here. Imagine this. Everything falls apart, right? Everything falls apart. You grab your go bag and you get together with your whoever and you head for the hills because whatever it is, has happened. Now, how often do people think about this? You've thought about this, right? It is one of the great prepper fantasies. Excuse me, one more time. They say that the Northerners say that Scotch is a gentleman's drink. The Southerners, we know that bourbon is a gentleman's drink. And sometimes a ruffian and a renegade. Anyway, so you hoof it, man. You get out of town. You get into the woods. You're heading into the national forest to escape whatever it is you need to escape from. And you start lagging back. You're getting tired. Maybe you're not a spring chicken anymore, right? maybe you have some health issues, maybe you just whatever. You're not the man or woman you used to be. And so you're huffing and puffing and huffing and puffing, and you see, and the other ones they're having to hold back just to to let you keep up. But finally, the danger is coming, and they can't hold back anymore if they're going to survive, right? And so they say, we're sorry, but our prayers are with you. Do your best. We got to go. We got to stay out in front of this thing. And we wish you well. And off they go. And you sit down on that stump or that rock or whatever, and you see them going. But you just don't have it in you to get up and keep the pace, right? And maybe there's one of them that loves you enough to stay back. And they stay back and says, hey, I'm here with you and I'll help you along, right? And they do, which of course means that now two of you are moving slower than the rest of the bunch, and two of you are going to fall behind, and two of you are probably going to be lost, right? I don't mean just lost in the woods. Two of you are going to be overcome with whatever it is that's coming. How does that scenario sound to you? Well, might I suggest that many people in the so-called prepper world are doing exactly that. And that's what's going to happen to them. What am I talking about? Well, I know you got all the beans and rice and you got this and you got that. Well, I've always said that there's two futures for which you need to prepare. One is if everything falls apart, like in my books. I'm not advertising my books right now because we are just swamped. We're waiting for the next shipment to get in, and they've just told us they're running late and whatever. By the way, if you want some books for Christmas, get them through Amazon. And if you've already ordered them from me, it won't hurt my feelings if you cancel your order and request a refund. It's fine. I'd rather you get the books. If that's important to you, if it's important to you to get the signed copies by me, all I can say is I'll get them to you as soon as the printer gets them to me. But anyway, as in my books, everything falls apart. That's one scenario there's one possible future for which you need to prepare. What's the other possible future? For things not to fall apart, right? Right. In which case, what happens? Everything continues to evolve. And what I call it is a continually developing, complex, technological world. Okay? Well, I have to tell you that I'm right there with you in being unprepared for that. And I'm becoming more and more uncomfortable with being unprepared for that. I've always joked that I've got I don't have a smartphone, I have a smarter than me phone, right? I'm talking to you in it right now. I know how to talk, I know how to text, I know how to answer it, I know how to take some notes, I write my books in it, and I shoot videos on it, and that's all I know how to do on it. I mean, this phone right here that I'm talking to you on has got more technology than they had to send people to the moon, if you believe that people went to the moon. Okay, more than the an aircraft carrier or a nuclear submarine of 40 years ago, and we carry them around in our pockets. I have a smarter than me TV, but I realize that I am hamstringing myself. I am assuring by my failure to try to learn more about how to deal with this new world of technology. It's not new to other people, right? It's new to me. probably new to a lot of you out there. A lot of people are using these devices to the maximum of, well, maybe not the maximum, but to a greater extent of their potential. It's the way they make a living. It's the way they communicate. It is the center. Communications, information, all of this is what drives modern life. Whether that's information for increase of knowledge, or whether it's advertising. And there's nothing wrong with advertising. Advertising is what makes business go. So for the people out there just saying, well, people just want to make money. Well, what do you think? You don't? Come on, stop it. The person who says that is just jealous of the person who's making more than they are. So I realize, and I'm in this with you, I realize that I am in a hole. I'm fighting out of a hole now. I have let technology get ahead of me. And it's not a fun place to be, because I know that the world, like that group out in the woods, is going, and then getting fainter and fainter and fainter in my vision as they distance themselves from me in the woods. And I'm back there sitting on that stump or on that rock going, oh, I don't know. Just too much for me. Well, the last couple of days, I've realized, because we're talking, we're taking the businesses to the next step. And to do that, we really need to change a lot. Well, we need to improve. Let me put it that way. We need to improve a lot of the things that we're doing. We need to improve communications. We need to improve order taking. We need to improve servicing, and a lot of things. And it gets very detailed, and the businesses are growing so much that pretty much the only way that we can do it, we've been doing it, taking notes and doing things by hand and all that. Well, technology is the answer for how we need to take the next steps. I'm starting a publishing company because I've had a little problems with, our publishing in the past. Several other things. I'm not going to get into all that. But, as those of you who know, we do our own design, we do our own production, we do pretty much everything in-house. I don't like to rely on outside, because when I do, things happen like, things just happen. And so I try to be as independent from dependence on other external sources, just like I always talk about, Now, set me down in the middle of the woods after the whole world has fallen apart, I'm fine. Set me down in the middle of the ghetto, I'm fine. Set me down, anywhere in the physical world, I'm fine. But the technological world is exploding, and those who will not keep up with it will be left far behind. I know that there is this feeling in the prepper community that everything technological is evil. It's all part of Big Brother, or it's all part of, the mark of the beast, all of this. Well, what it is technology. And technology has been increasing and increasing and increasing. And, some of you are probably aware of this. Sometime back in the 1850s, it said that, I can't swear that this is true, but I read it. So, and I read it a long time ago, before the internet, that the head of the U.S. Patent Office had said that anything, this is back in the 1850s, that pretty much everything that was ever going to be invented had already been invented. And that from then on, it was just going to be improvements on what had already been invented. Look at the world since then. The buggy whip manufacturers, like Rush Limbaugh used to say, always did very well because they knew there would always be buggies and horses that need whipping, right? Until there weren't. Until the horseless carriage came along, and the people said, oh, that'll never work, nobody will go for that. No. What are we doing now? The telephone. Well, what's wrong? I want nothing to do with that dadgum newfangled voice of the devil. If writing letters was good enough for my pa, it's good enough for me, right? Well, I haven't written a letter for a long time. I used to write letters. You know, there's something kind of satisfying about sitting down, you know, at your desk and taking a pen and paper and spending an hour writing a letter to a friend, right? Something personal about it. Now we don't do that. We text, we email, all sorts of things. Is it worse? Is it better? I don't know. It just is. It's just what has happened. Those who fight progress are going to be run over by the progress they think they're fighting. Because you can't, you know, it's an old saying, right? You can't fight progress. And I know that people are going to say, that ain't progress. See right there, that's my dryer telling me it's time for me to come take my wet clothes out. Instead of going out back, you know, in the 30-degree weather and getting my clothes on my frozen clothes off the clothesline, you know, I have a dryer, you know, that dries them electrically, right? And then buzzes and lets me know, hey, Steve, time to get your clothes out of the dryer. Well, that's a horrible thing. I would never do that. That's the devil's workshop. Where are you on the scale of your familiarity or your ability to use technology in a good way for the improvement of your life? How much do you know? Chances are a lot of you know a lot more than I do. Do you know as much as you want to? Do you know as much as you should in order to really, you know, maximize the value it can give to your life? Or, just as important, do you understand it? And into this ball, I will throw several things. Do you understand AI? Do you understand the surveillance state? Do you understand the technological soup in which we live to an extent to where you can in some ways mitigate its threat to you? I would say that's important. You know, preppers love to talk about it. Of course, PMPs, preparedness-minded people, do more than talk. They do. So I would venture to say that most of the PMPs listening to me now probably have a pretty good handle on technology. I know some of you do. I know that a lot of you guys are way up there on machine learning and AI and all this stuff. But I also know that most people aren't. Most of you aren't out there. But we're all preppers are always talking about, oh, how they can, you know, you can start a fire 8 different ways. You know, let me see your go bag and or your get home bag or whatever. You're gonna have 8 different ways to start a fire in there, right? And you're gonna have so much stuff in there. It's everything that you need, right? To live basic. Here's the thing. It's maybe everything you need to survive. But is that what you want? Is that all that you want? I should put it that way. Yeah, we all want to survive. Is that all that you want? Just to survive? Because just surviving on just a survival level sucks. It does. It sucks. Go back to the pioneers, back there, the ones who, you know, pushed out west in the 1700s and 1800s. What kind of lives did they have? You might say, well, I like it. It was a simpler time. Yeah, a simpler time. Everything was trying to kill you. You were fighting constantly on not starving to death, finding decent water, not getting shot by, people that didn't look like you or did look like you. Man couldn't leave his house to go plow a field without wondering if somebody was going to come along and attack his wife and kids and burn his cabin down. Those were not fun times. Those were not times to idolize. Yeah, it's nice to say, oh, I'd like to live in a cabin in the woods and have a nice, simple life. Well, yeah, so would I. I mean, who was I telling? Somebody I was talking to in the comments on the Patreon channel about prepper fantasies. And my fantasy is to continue living life just the way I am right now. And somebody will come on here and say, well, that's not a very realistic fantasy. Not very realistic. Why is that? Why is that? If you are doing everything you can to prepare to live well, we talk about we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow, right? If you are doing everything you can in preparation to live well, no matter what happens, why isn't that a realistic hope? I won't call it a fantasy. It's a realistic hope or a realistic desire. But you take it a step forward. Think about the continuingly complex development of technology. How are you on that scale? Do you even know the possibilities? Do you know the threats? Oh, I know everybody out there in prepper world will say, oh, I know, everybody's watching us. They know everything we say. By some of the comments, I don't think you really realize that. That's right. You are under the constant eye of people you don't even know. Should that bother you? I was talking to somebody the other day. They said, boy, all this surveillance, I can't stand it. It's a threat to my privacy. And I thought it was kind of humorous because I used a kind of an argument that we make fun of sometimes. But that I asked him, I said, what exactly is it that you don't want anybody to see? What are you doing that you don't want people to see, right? Well, that's not the point, he said. Not the point. I just don't like the idea of people being able to, I get it, man. I mean, it's like, living a life, in a glass house and everybody can see everything. I understand that. But understand this too. If you're all wrapped up in that, to the point that you won't even, I got people who says, I don't do any online anything. Why? I don't do online banking. I don't. Oh, yeah? Why? Because you think that writing something on a piece of paper and sending it through the mail is more secure? Because I know, the post office is always perfect, right? And we never find out that a whole bunch of mailbags have been shoved under a bridge somewhere, right? And of course, when that little piece of paper that you write on and you mail it off through this perfect delivery system finally gets there, it's not turned into ones and zeros in the bank accounting system, is it? Well, of course it is. Everything's digital. You see, what I'm saying is you have to accept reality. You have to accept that what is. And not accepting it or refusing to believe it, refusing to, play the game. It's not a game, it's the way it is. Holds you back. So, I can pay all of my bills in 5 minutes. I sit down, get on my laptop, beep, 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 done. I mean, I'm not halfway through a cup of coffee, and I have all my monthly bills done. I've never had a problem. If I have a problem, there are ways to deal with it. I've never had anything lost in the mail, right? I used to have things lost in the mail every now and then. But anyway, that's what my point is. There's a lot of people holding themselves back because they don't want to deal with the new technology. And you know what? I don't know about you, but I'll tell you about me. Part of my saying I don't want anything to do with it until now is the fact that it confused me. It confused me. It's easier for me to ask one of my kids to turn my TV on than for me to figure out everything about it, right? And I make a joke about it. I'll say, I've got, I got to ask my kids to, turn on the TV. Well, I mean, why? That's stupid, right? Would I say I've got to ask the kids to protect me from a murderer? I would never say that, right? But to turn on a TV or to do the basic things in technology? Now, I know that many of you out there can do it, but I'm talking to the ones who can't. The world has given us tremendous opportunities. And in my opinion, that's God giving us tremendous opportunities. These things are neither good nor bad. Just like bourbon is in itself neither good nor bad. Some people will say, well, the alcohol is detrimental to you. Okay, the body will process it. But if I drink too much, it's bad. Let me demonstrate. A wonderful small batch of First Responders Cask Company small batch bourbon. A delicious sip. I mark that good. Now, if I drank it down to about there, I'd call it bad, right? You would see bad right in front of your eyes. A thing is what a thing is. It's like a gun, okay? Gun, good, bad, depends on who's using it and how they use it. Technology, good or bad, depends on how it's used and who's using it. And if you don't prepare yourself to do better in that realm, you will be the person sitting on the rock, sitting on the stump, waving bye-bye to those who are disappearing into the woods, away from the dangers that are coming. And in this case, the dangers could simply be that you're not able to function well in life in the future because you're not able to protect yourself against the threats because you don't understand it. Does that make sense? Let me have a sip while you think about it. To the new people who have joined us, this is why some people don't like me. He's smug, he's arrogant, well, actually, I'm just funny. But I am pointing out truths. And these truths are for me as well as anybody else out there. So now I've got a smarter than me TV. I got a smarter than me phone. I just bought a new iPad on which we're going to start running all the business. Well, there's not running all the businesses, but there's things that we need an iPad for because we need it in the field. I just bought a new super duper laptop for all sorts of things in several of the businesses. And my goal now is to stop being a techno dummy, come into the 21st century so that I won't be left behind. But you do you. And I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.